Murder Drone's absolute end. One of the more controversial episodes of Murder Drones. Some people love it and others not so much. This was the finale of a show that has been running for over 3 years at this point, and with expectations at an all-time high, it released to mostly alright reviews. But looking at it over a year later, did it succeed? That, my friends, is the question I'll be answering today. Was episode 8 a good episode? And more importantly, was it a good finale? If you've been on this channel before, you probably know the drill. I'm going to go through the events of the episode, giving my thoughts and opinions as they become relevant, before talking about what this episode did well, and maybe not so well. You already know this one's going to be chaotic. Lots of rants, conversations, and questions will ensue. So friends and folks, let's get straight to it. Now, I don't want to dawdle on any scenes that I don't really think are particularly interesting, which luckily isn't that hard, as the planet is trying to eat everyone within the first minute and a half of this episode. There isn't really an opening to this episode. I mean, it's basically just a part 2 to mass destruction, and past these couple shots at the beginning and a small handshake between these two, there are really no breaks. When people talk about Murder Drones being overwhelming, yeah, I can kind of see why. But truly all the action and horror is too good for me to be mad. While this episode definitely has pacing issues, which we'll get to later, this overwhelming nature is what I loved so much about Mass Destruction, and they did a pretty good job here as well. Mostly. This is a very small thing I want to mention, but I do like the lack of noise they put into these scenes in space. It's not dead silent like what we saw at the end of episode 7, but the background music is very muffled and quiet. It's nothing crazy, but it's a neat detail that helps add to the immersion quite a lot. I've already talked about how much I love Nori before, even if she's basically a carbon copy of Uzi, and seeing them reunite, even if short, was pretty neat. It's not as emotionally impacting as it could have been, but it gave Uzi a confidence boost, which is a good segue into one of the major strengths and flaws of this episode. These two are way too confident. It feels slightly sudden going from episode 7 to here, but really that just comes down to the pacing, I think. I mean, it really wasn't that long ago that Uzi had completely lost control of her body and was basically turned into sin, but she kind of just gains this self-esteem so suddenly. I get it's her starting to be confident in herself and to stop being a little bitch, but it feels slightly too sudden for my liking, considering this is what I assume is allowing her to resist the solver, something that's been hyped up throughout the entire series up till this point. This confidence is broken halfway through the episode with an incredible horror segment, but it just kind of comes back within a minute after. And believe it or not, I don't hate this. It adds a lot to the embrace cringe factor of the show that I appreciate a lot, and it helps create the comedic vibe that I love. En and Uzi are adorable, and seeing them be this confident is just so fun to watch. And it leads to this fight scene, so I can't really complain. I just thought I'd mention it as I understand this being an issue to some people, as there was definitely better ways to go about this. Soon after Nori gets thrown away again, we meet En, who is oddly mad about Uzi's sacrifice, considering he's done the same thing on multiple occasions. But anyways, these two are adorable, with us entering probably the best looking scene in the show. Falling with You is amazing. I've spoken about my love for this scene, but I really just can't get enough of it. En and Uzi is a relationship that I just always found myself enjoying to watch. Nothing truly deep happens between the two other than some slight communication problems, which was neither of their faults. They've just been a simple and fun couple, and I really like it. In a show with so much horror, so much violence, so much action, having these two just be cute together was a great way to bring back that awkward teenage tone of the show. If you preferred if these guys stayed as friends, fair enough, but I think it fits the tone of the show too well for me to dislike it. Really, this scene is just very pretty. The fire, the space, the fact it's all in one shot, it's so nice to look at, and the music, wow. It's like an orchestra version of some of the other songs, and it fits the scene so well, while being such a beauty to listen to. I love the MD soundtrack. I don't really think that's a secret, so this being one of my favorite tracks really says something. This scene is just incredible. I think it leads into my point of there not really being a bad scene in this episode. Everything here slaps, there just simply isn't enough of it. And speaking of that, let's talk about Jay. I'll start by saying Jay is awesome. Every one of her lines hits. It's like actually an 100% win rate. The line about there being no escape even in death goes so hard, and it's pretty fitting for her character, considering, you know. This fight between her and V is just really good, but I will say it feels ever so slightly overshadowed by everything else in the episode. I feel like when I first watched this, I kind of just breezed over it as everything surrounding it is just so good. But the more I come back to it, the more I love it. The music is absolutely fire, like always, and Jay is hilarious without even trying to be. I should mention this is when it's revealed that V is alive. I am a firm believer that this episode helped finish V's arc in a slightly less sudden way than episode 6 did, so I am really happy that she's back. I love that she befriended Sparky, it's super cool, and this is just too funny. But with all that being said, I'm still not quite sure they did enough with Jay. She's kind of been hyped up throughout the whole show. Episode 3 ends with a cliffhanger showing her, only to her basically being put off to the side until she's set up again at the end of episode 7. I understand Jay's character, she's the embodiment of what would have happened if he chose to stick with Sin, but I do think we could have seen a little more, because past this she's kind of forgotten about. It's nothing show ruining or anything, it's just kind of a shame that this is all we got from her, but at least what we do get is good. And Anuzi are being the stupid, overconfident idiots they are, love it, and Sin is awesome. I made a whole video talking about Sin, but I still want to talk about her here. She is perfect, at least speaking from a design perspective. The whole idea of her wearing the skin of Tessa was so cool and was so Liam Vickers, but honestly I'm surprised they pulled it off this well. This isn't a kid show or anything, but the fact it's on YouTube kind of means they are limited with the amount of blood or gore they can include, but somehow they managed to create a character that is really realistic and really cartoony at the same time. She kept the dress and bow, because why not? And these empty voids as eyes are so sinister. This is the first time we really see proper human features. Everything up until this point has either been a robot or a black shadow figure, and this itself makes her appearance stick out so much more. Her voice is genuinely incredible. It was what made me first fall in love with her. She has this robotic speech pattern that still manages to present emotion. It's really cool. Fitzy did a great job here. And I mean, these lines are just so fun and so creepy, which is great, as what follows is easily one of the best horror sequences of the show. I mean, Sin's playfulness is pretty horrifying. Watching Uzi struggle to put her heart back into her chest because both her hands have been cut off while Sin digs into N's stomach. Yikes. But they managed to get away, leading into the hallway scene. I love this scene for multiple reasons. Firstly, actually seeing N's trauma towards his backstory, even if brief, was very needed. I mean, in episode 5 we didn't really get any of that, and Sin's movements, the hands, it's also creepy, and fits murder drones so well. And V coming in here really just allows us to understand her character so much more. It's such a nice kind of final confession from her, rather than just, I trust you, Uzi. It actually makes her character feel complete in a much more fitting way than episode 6 did, and for that I love it. But this scene isn't just about V. No, because N also has his moment to shine, or nearly die. I think this is the scene that really disproves that N doesn't care about V. Sure, N and Uzi had their time in this scene, but with V's life on the line, all while N knows this could be a trap, he decides to risk not only his life, but Uzi's as well to try and save her. I've talked about N a lot on this channel already, and while this might not be his most important moment, it definitely seals the fact that he cares about V. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we still gotta deal with Sin. We see Khan being useful, wow. V nearly dies, but Uzi gives her a little speech leading into the final fight. Before we talk about this banger of a fight, let's talk a little bit about Uzi. I mentioned before that these two are way too confident, because well, they are. But here is where it works for me. Sure, I think it is pretty sudden coming from the hallway scene, but having the main character say she thinks dumb things are cool directly to the main antagonist's face is so Uzi I cannot complain. I feel like Liam knew exactly what he wanted from Uzi from start to finish. She develops as a character, but she is always cringe, and that is what I love about her. She's always been very intriguing to me. I mean, when do you see a main character call themselves a damaged OC? The answer, probably never. But this uniqueness in her writing is what makes her so cool, because basically any other show would be too scared to include someone like her. She's exaggerated. Like, very exaggerated. The same as everything else in this show. And I think that's what allows this persona to come off as oddly natural. So here, no complaints. Uzi is awesome and I love her confidence. Now let's talk about this final fight, because wow, they cooked. I mean, we have Uzi being as badass as she is, Sin using all of her powers to trick and manipulate them. I've spoken about her a lot, but her movements are so fun to watch, and mixing all of this with an absolute banger of a soundtrack, I just can't get over it. I've watched the scene a dozen times and it always hits. It's super fun to look at, it's got that Murder Drones vibe that we all love. Everyone is having a blast here. Sin is certain that she is going to win, and Uzi are being adorable and pretty stupid, with their constant over-the-top aura farming being too in character and fun to watch. Sin's death was pretty sudden, but really I think it's fair that the reason she perished was due to her eagerness to play with her food. Was it plot armor? Kinda, but it's still pretty cool and I like it. And after this is kinda it. We see Uzi eat Sin, trapping her in her body, and we cut to the class showing them having a complete and full hero's journey. Really, if I had to change anything here, it would be to just extend this part. I heard someone say this somewhere, but it feels like the ending to a season, not really a show, and to that I can kind of agree. I mean, from the time the main villain is destroyed and the credits roll is like 3 minutes. The pacing has always been an issue of this show, and here is probably the best example. But what we got definitely works, and even if it doesn't satisfy everyone, it definitely satisfied me. This show isn't that serious. I think that's one thing this episode does pretty well. Sure, it definitely has serious moments and a pretty intriguing plot, but this really is meant to be a fun, chaotic show. Some people won't like the direction they took here, and that's completely fair. If you wanted this to become a darker story, especially coming out of episode 7, then fair enough. But this confidence, these action scenes, the overly happy ending, it's all that I really wanted. You don't really see shows dive into this embrace cringe culture really. I think that's what makes Murder Drones stick out to me, because even if we could have gotten a better paced, maybe darker or more emotionally impacting ending, I don't think that's what the show was about. And what they were going for, they did a pretty good damn job. I've probably made it pretty clear that this episode did a lot right. It's cool, has some great action, and it's just overall really fun to watch. We get satisfying endings to most arcs, and even more songs that I will listen to over and over again. Is it rushed? Yes. There was definitely more they could have done here. I think Jay's character could have been expanded on a bit, but what we got is simply too good for me to complain about. So really, I'm more than satisfied with this ending.